Hi, I'm Oli.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And this is a comic strip AP of Dungeon World, featuring the story tale of Alford Soultaker. When we last saw Alford, he had just managed to dash his way across the battlefield, which is Frostbreach, and make his way into his hut. However, when he got there, he found that his compatriot Helda Gamethief had found Wyrmblight, and seemed to know a little about it.
The war bites at my heels like a hungry beast. It was never my plan to go to war, never my plan to leave my wife and children, never my choice to fight. And it was never what I wanted to run and hide, to waste my life in a frozen pit, surrounded by scum. Since Wyrmblight killed the king and Freymar, I always thought that the sword was the only thing that connected me to the king's murder, and keeping it hidden, the only thing that protected me from the wrath of the Inquisition. And now, somehow, they found me, and they know. This changes everything. Hiding no longer helps. Anonymity is not my ally. I need to go home, reclaim what is mine, and sweep aside all who stand in my way. For the first time in years, I will choose to fight. My name is Alford Soultaker, and I was a monster hunter.
Okay, you have just run in, found Helda going through your stuff. She's turned round, she's holding Wyrmblight, taking the cloth off it, and says, Alford Soultaker, I think you've got some explaining to do. What do you do?
I freeze in place, just weighing her up for a minute, trying to work out if she's actually a threat to me at this point. What she's doing, why she's here, why has she gone straight for Wyrmblight? And as ever, I have to conclude, she probably didn't go there, she was probably called. So I straighten up, and in a business-like fashion just resheath my skinning knife into its place in my boot. And through the pain of my still broken jaw, I hold an open palm out towards her and say,
I think you should be giving that to me, Helda. It isn't yours.
It's not yours either, though, is it? Not strictly speaking.
If I could get rid of that thing, I would have done years ago. It's better off with me, where less harm can come to other people.
I knew there was something familiar about it. All the times we went out hunting together, there was just something about this sword. But any time I started getting close to it, you took it away. And of course, we're fighting Ankegs, we're fighting owlbears, there were things trying to kill us, so I didn't think too much of it. But it was always familiar. There were posters, bills posted all around the town after the king died.
I try to repress a wince at the point I realise that here is another person who is putting two and two together. I don't want her to see that I'm frightened at the prospect of more people knowing. And I say, Helda, I don't want to have to hurt you.
Like you didn't want to have to hurt Jorok?
No, Jorok was different. I did kind of want to hurt him.
He knew, didn't he? He knew this was the king's sword.
He wanted to use it. I'm hoping for your sake that you don't.
I don't. Get in, close the door as best you can.
I look at Wyrmblight, I look at her. I think I trust her enough to step away for a moment. So I step over to the board that is my bed. I lug it upright and I screech it across the wooden floor to prop it up like a ramshackle door to give us some privacy and perhaps even a little defense. But then I turn back to Helda and I say, There, Helda. Now, give me the sword.
Not yet.
We don't have time.
You're not getting this. And she sheaths it over her shoulder. I think you're going to have to do a little explaining before we leave. You killed the king.
I feel the wind taken out of me. I want the sword. I really want the sword. I feel like I need the sword. I see it strapped to her back, and I want to kill her. Instinct says to take it from her by force. But I've grown to like her. With a weary sigh, I turn my back on her, take a couple of paces to the side of the wall where I have a chair, and I drag it across and just bump it down in front of her, and say, Go on then. Sit.
I'll keep standing if that's okay.
Well, I could do with the rest.
And I sit myself down, and once again, I become aware of my own body and its aches and its pains, and I'm relieved to be able to rest myself on the seat. I lean into it. I feel old.
What do you want to know, Gamethief? What is such a mystery that you have to steal what is mine and risk everything?
You're not here For the king's murder, though?
I'm here for the murder of a friend.
Another friend that found out?
Yeah, he found out. He knew from the start. He was the first to lay hands on that cursed blade. He knew as much about it as I did, but only I could wield it. He didn't like that. That blade,
And I point at it almost accusingly.
is worth more than half the kingdom to those that want it. He wanted to use that, and he was a fool. We would have been executed, all of us, me, Gargoyle, Freymar. I couldn't let him do it. There was a fight. He went down. I don't remember it that well.
I'll tell you what I remember, she says. They caught one of the people that killed the king. What was his name?
I look to one side and nod as I remember.
Gargoyle. A good soldier. A good friend. He and I went through a lot together. I was sorry to hear what happened to him.
It's not just what happened to him, though, is it?
You know that. You know what happened to Gargoyle. What did you find out? And I'll tell you what really happened.
I know he was executed.
I stand up and look her dead in the eye. I take a step towards her.
I just say, oh, yeah, he was executed. Alongside of him, his wife.
And I take another step.
And his 2 sisters. His 3 children. Strong, fine children. He was proud of them, more proud than anyone I've ever known. They found his mother. When they'd done that, they razed his farm. They salted his lands. They cursed the very ground he'd trodden on. And then when they were done, and there was nothing left of him, not even so much as a memory,
I take another step towards her.
then they came looking for me in Freymar. That,
I point to her and thump a finger into her breastbone.
will not happen to my family.
For the love of all the gods, Alfred, why did you keep the sword?
I didn't keep the sword. The damn thing kept me. I've thrown it in the sea. I've buried it in 6 foot of stone and dirt. I've thrown it over cliffs. It finds its way back. It finds me. And it does damage as it goes. The people who touch it, they become cursed too. Why don't you give it to me? It always finds its way home. And I think its home is my soul.
I think you're going to have to roll a Defy Danger Charisma to convince her to give you the sword back.
That's a 10, even taking into account my -1 charisma.
Nice. She takes the sword off of back and hands it to you.
I take it with 2 hands and grip it tight, but before she's let go, I look her in the eye and say,
Thank you, Helda. Thank you.
and I take it from her.
I'm not often the friendliest type, Alford. I've been sent a long way from my wife. It is fucking cold, and they make me kill bigger things than I'm used to killing for a living. So, you might get the impression I don't like you. That's not entirely true. I wouldn't say we're friends, but I don't want what happened to Gargoyle to happen to you. And more importantly, I don't want what happened to Gargoyle to happen to your family. Come on, let's get out of this place.
I smile. It's always good to have an ally. She feels a bit like another Gargoyle or Freymar. She's handy, and I think trustworthy. And so I flash her one of my Alford smiles.
Which really hurts because your jaw's still
I'm
open.
gonna do it anyway. And I say,
Come on then. I've planned for this.
That's a good point, actually. How has Alford planned for this? How? Because he was planning his eventual escape from Frostbreach, wasn't he? So what has he prepared?
one way or another, Alford has assumed that he's going to have to leave without permission. So he's been in the privileged position of being one of the few people who is not only allowed but encouraged to spend prolonged periods of time outside the boundaries of Frostbreach. So he, Helda, and a few others have actually recce'd the land outside of the town up to about 2-3 kilometers away all around. He knows the landscape. And whilst the others have just been hunting monsters, he's been sneaking out supplies. A lot of people wonder why Alford lives in such a nasty hovel when the monster hunters are some of the better paid groups in Frostbreach. And it's because he puts as little of his coin as necessary into survival and the rest into bribes and the black market to get thicker furs, nicer clothes that will last longer in the cold. He's managed to get a hold of some survival gear, and he has spent time taking those things bit by tiny bit to a number of caches in the woods outside and perhaps more importantly, down the southbound track from Frostbeat Breach that leads back to where everybody came from. The map is in his head, and he's put a lot of effort into memorizing it.
Okay, so you're heading outside into Frostbeach proper now.
Yeah, I grab the wares that I've got here. He's got some extra thick fur coats, and he takes all the supplies and rations that he's got with him, which is not insignificant, actually. He's got enough to last a good week and a half, maybe 7 days with the two of them sharing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, plus she's a poacher, so...
Absolutely. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah. Okay, so...
And I step to the door. I nod to Helda to check that she's ready for whatever might come through the door, and I just wrench the bed to one side.
You wrench the bed to one side, she bursts out of the door with her bow, ready to shoot whatever is out there. As soon as you do, you hear the sounds of battle still going on. What's your plan? What's your plan for getting out of here as you're rushing out?
Well, I have Wyrmblight in hand, ready to be used if necessary. If there's nobody out there, immediately I just say, "Come on this way, I've got a route planned." And indeed I do. I have a route that takes you to one of the smaller gates that we have habitually used as the monster hunters to leave the town in order to explore the forests to the north. It's been guarded by what might be considered friends.
Okay, cool.
He's been passing through that gate for the last year.
Okay, make me a Defy Danger Dex to get there without being noticed.
8.
8, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Are you going on foot, or are you going on horseback? What are you doing?
We're going on foot for the time being. I don't think we've got the time nor the need for horseback.
You make your way. No one is really trying to get out of Frostbridge at the minute. Everyone has been very much hemmed in, and the battle is keeping everyone there. So actually trying to leave, no one's really stopping you. So you're heading out that way, and you get there without anyone getting in your way. What you don't see as you're leaving is Inquisitor O'Brien coming out of the top of the governor's office, and he can see you making for the gate. He takes out a little spyglass, watches you, and curses.
They found his mother. They killed his dog.
Okay.
No, I love it. But it's just so grimdark.
Hi, this is Jason from the Gauntlet gaming community. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, please consider supporting the Gauntlet on Patreon. Our page can be found at patreon.com/Gauntlet.